The tale opens with a woman rushing through a corridor, driven by the urgent cries for help echoing from a room. Inside, a man named Ruth Taker lies on the bed, pleading for a healer. Earlier that day, Ruth, a renowned adventurer from the Azul continent, had limped into the village, bearing injuries that spoke of a terrifying ordeal. The culprits? A fearsome pack of black-maned wolves, notorious in these parts. Ruth had underestimated them, thinking he'd face a small number. Instead, he was ambushed by a staggering pack of 30. The wounds they inflicted were severe, and Ruth knew he urgently needed healing. However, with no funds on hand, he sought assistance from the Adventurer Association. After signing a contract that would see a portion of his future earnings docked to repay the loan with interest billed separately, Ruth was both wounded and indebted. Intent on seeking treatment at the local church, his path was intercepted by a sexy stranger in a white coat. This man offered healing services, claiming a more affordable rate and flexible payment terms. Suspicion gnawed at Ruth. He was aware of the many imposters looking to profit off the genuine need for healing. For this reason, he demanded to see the man's healer badge, a measure put in place to distinguish legitimate healers from swindlers. The surge of fake healers in the region had made it necessary to validate their authenticity through this badge. The Adventurer Association bestows a unique skill, represented by a physical badge, to certain individuals. Yet, to Ruth's astonishment, the man before him stood unmoved. He prompted the stranger again to reveal his badge. In response, the man clarified that since he wasn't adept at healing, the association had refrained from granting him one. Hearing this, Ruth felt justified in dismissing the man as a madman and attempted to move on. However, the stranger's next words caught Ruth's attention. He accurately described Ruth's wounds, noting they seemed inflicted by a black-maned wolf, likely due to a prior injury from a wooden stick. Bewildered by the man's knowledge, Ruth listened as the stranger tried to make a case for his services. He pitched his healing prowess, noting the exorbitant price a priest would charge in comparison. The stranger then generously offered a significant discount, asking only for 150,000 gold. Yet, this proposal only solidified Ruth's suspicion of a con. As Ruth began to depart, the mysterious man issued a warning. Anticipating the severity of Ruth's pain later on, he suggested that should Ruth suffer during the night, he could seek him out for help at a nearby inn. Ruth was frustrated to find out that the man he'd met was staying in the same inn. Choosing to avoid him, Ruth went to a church for healing. A priest treated him, then charged 620,000 gold, leaving Ruth shocked. While he wasn't fully healed, he believed he'd get better due to the priest's reputation. However, his feet soon swelled and caused immense pain, making him regret his choice. Remembering the mysterious man's words, he wished he knew the man's name to seek his help. To his surprise, the man was already in Ruth's room, introducing himself as the healer who couldn't heal. As Ruth writhed in pain, a woman named Julia was told to leave by the healer. The healer, seemingly enjoying Ruth's predicament, reminded him of the cost of the priest's treatment. Desperate, Ruth asked for help. The healer demanded 300,000 gold upfront, surprising Ruth, who remembered the previous price of 150,000 gold. Confused and frustrated, Ruth asked why the price had doubled. The man explained the price increase was due to the severity of Ruth's condition now being 3 times worse. He cheekily suggested that if Ruth found it too expensive, he could seek another healer. However, Ruth knew only this man could help and, in desperation, offered his sword, which was worth around 200,000 gold. The man accepted the sword as payment, making it vanish into his inventory, which astonished Ruth. Ruth, observing his worsening injury, questioned if it could be fatal. The healer reassured him that if it were life-threatening, he would have intervened earlier. He then educated Ruth about the toxic properties of the black lingonberry. The plant's leaves and stems contain a paralyzing poison, which the black maned wolves used to their advantage by driving their prey towards it. Distraught, Ruth assumed he'd be paralyzed forever, pleading with the healer to help. The healer revealed a potion, which appeared quite sinister, especially as he was holding a large knife. However, he explained it was the antidote for the black lingonberry poison. The antidote needed to be applied directly to the wound, but since Ruth's injury had been sealed, they had to reopen it. Ruth quickly realized he was in a terrible situation. The man, although claiming he couldn't heal, made it clear it wasn't by choice, he simply couldn't. Without any painkillers on hand. The man told Ruth to shout out if needed while he applied the antidote. Ruth could only wriggle and shout in pain, but there was an unmistakable sense of relief in his face because he knew he was in the care of the only Azul common healer with a question mark, Kong Song-hyun. 3 years ago, Kong Song-hyun found himself in an unfamiliar cave. A system message appeared, informing him of a new role. He recognized the setting, having seen it multiple times before. Monsters were everywhere. He figured he was no longer on Earth, but in another world. Luckily, he wasn't the only one from Earth there. Drawing parallels to a fantasy novel, he noticed he had a status window and a new job. But he was puzzled to see his healer job title had a question mark. Hearing others discussing teaming up, Kong opened his skills window. He had 3 skills. 1. Cutting, allowed him to slice through anything with a sharp object. 2. God of language, let him understand any language. And 3. Observation eye, gave him a detailed look at anything he observed. Bizarrely, none of these skills aligned with a typical healer's capabilities. Questions flooded his mind. In the present, Ruth seemed to have passed out from the pain, but after Kong Song-hyun's intervention, he woke up, feeling better and deeply thankful. Kong Song-hyun himself was amazed by the effectiveness of his treatment. Especially since he lacked traditional healing powers. Ruth quickly apologized for his earlier words, but to his astonishment, Song-hyun brushed it off, mentioning he's often met with disbelief given his unique healing methods. Ruth found himself admiring Song-hyun, but that admiration waned when Song-hyun revealed he somewhat enjoyed seeing the very people who doubted him turn to him in desperation. Afterwards, Ruth headed to the restaurant's ground floor and requested a meal from Julia, which she promptly provided. While waiting, Song-hyun began writing in his journal, a habit he picked up since being transported to this dangerous world full of monsters and hazards known as the Azul continent. His hope was that by documenting his experiences, he might find a way back to Earth. While engrossed in his writing, Song-hyun noticed Julia injured herself. He immediately moved to assist, but Julia, initially hesitant, didn't want his help. Song-hyun, leveraging his observational skills, discerned the injury wasn't grave but did require immediate attention. Convincing Julia she couldn't cook with a wounded hand, she finally let him assist. Using his unique ability to control bleeding, he treated her wound, earning himself a point for his efforts. These points, Song-hyun knew, were valuable. Accumulating them allowed him to spin a roulette, and with the stash he had, he opted for 5 spins in a row. He gained 2 strength stats and a somewhat disappointing reward of 20 gold. However, the last spin was about to yield something significant. He obtained a new skill named Distribution. This unique ability allowed him to transform absorbed potions into energy, enhancing the potion's efficacy by 30%. Quite impressed with this new feature, Song-hyun decided to test it out after finishing his meal. Heading outside, he took out an exotic-looking potion and broke it, absorbing its health properties. Activating his distribution skill, he noted how it could rejuvenate the physical stamina of any target within its range. Song-hyun amused over the skill's potential application for his patients, seeing it as a more efficient method than merely administering the potion. However, as he was engrossed in his experiment, a stranger collided with him. The startled adventurer mistook Song-hyun's actions as aggressive, readying himself to retaliate. But Song-hyun, always the peacemaker, quickly clarified that his skill simply restored physical vitality. Recognizing Song-hyun's role as a healer, the adventurer's demeanor shifted entirely. With a smile, he apologized for his earlier suspicion, explaining his unfamiliarity with such skills due to his countryside upbringing. Yet, Song-hyun believed that even without the rural background, the skill was so unique that many would be unfamiliar with it, being exclusive to dimension travelers like himself. The conversation took another turn as the adventurer proposed Song-hyun join his group. They were on the lookout for healers, and with Song-hyun, their party would be a perfect quartet. Curious, Song-hyun inquired about the party's objectives. The adventurers shared their ambitious plan to hunt a rare creature, promising a hefty reward of 1. 2 million gold, an amount that definitely piqued Song Hyun's interest. The absence of a healer in the adventurer's current lineup sealed the deal, and Song Hyun eagerly agreed to team up. Inside the Adventurers Association, an injured adventurer approached a hooded healer, seeking a demonstration of his skills. The healer confidently displayed his abilities, asserting that he alone would suffice as the party's primary healer. Elsewhere, after a chance encounter with an adventurer named Rick, Song Hyun accepted an offer to join Rick's group as their healer. They proceeded to the gathering spot, only to discover another healer had been invited. Given the sizable reward of 1.2 million gold. More members meant a smaller share for each. The leaders sought consensus from both healers on this issue. While they both consented, Song Hyun speculated that the other healer, named Marbello, sought the same goal. After brief introductions, the group embarked on their mission. Along the journey, one party member voiced his relief at having two healers. However, tension brewed beneath the surface. Marbello harbored resentment towards Song Hyun. Earlier, when the group lauded Marbello for his versatile magical healing, Song Hyun effortlessly overshadowed him with an unexpected feat, leading Marbello to view him with envy. As Marbello shot hostile glances his way, Song Hyun dismissed them, focusing instead on gathering intel about their mission. When informed that their quarry was a rare sewer rat, the group was initially incredulous. The idea of hunting a mere rat, even a rare one, for a staggering 1.2 million gold seemed too good to be true. Song Hyun's lack of amusement stood out. He questioned if the group had ever faced a rare monster. Their inexperienced response, combined with Marbello's admission of being a healer for less than a year, led Song Hyun to dub them all naive. With urgency, he advised them on the necessity of ample potions when confronting such a creature. Their preparations, he stressed, would begin once they returned to the village. Nevertheless, the leader wasn't receptive to Song Hyun's counsel. They had already traveled a significant distance, and the notion of retracing their steps didn't sit well with him. Seizing the moment, Marbello jeered at Song Hyun for his perceived lack of preparedness, even suggesting he leave if he felt so apprehensive. Song Hyun chose to sidestep Marbello's taunts. Though resolved to make the necessary preparations, Marbello viewed his departure as a victory. As Song Hyun was leaving, he warned the group about their impending defeat but also offered his assistance later for a steep price of 300,000 gold per member. Marbello reveled in Song Hyun's exit, certain that the coveted rare item was now within his grasp. Before long, they encountered the much-discussed rare rat, which promised a hefty reward of 1.2 million gold. Brimming with confidence, Marbello assured the group that his buffs would amplify their attacks. With his encouragement, the team launched a synchronized assault on the creature. However, the rat's designation as rare wasn't for naught. It deftly evaded their combined onslaught, leaving them astounded when they found it had swiftly maneuvered behind them. The rat unleashed a powerful aura that drained their mana reserves. While Marbello remained unscathed, the group clung to the hope that their standing healer might yet turn the tide. However, their optimism was short-lived as a swarm of rats descended upon them. Overwhelmed and outmatched, the adventurers found themselves in a dire situation. Marbello grappled with the realization of their swift defeat, but Rick wasn't ready to resign himself to a grim fate. With survival in mind, he strategically withdrew from the fray. Unexpectedly, Rick emerged from the direction they had just fled from. Realizing this, the group grasped they were surrounded. With only Marbello, the healer, left standing, his only response was a loud scream. Fortunately, the very person Marbello had scorned and driven off, Song Hyun, returned to assist. Song Hyun had anticipated this predicament, questioning from the beginning why such a significant reward was offered for a seemingly easy task. He would have charged 500,000 gold per individual had he known the true nature of the challenge. Marbello's face reflected sheer astonishment. Before Marbello could demand an explanation, Song Hyun alerted him to the impending rat attack. Reminding Marbello of his purported Shield of God ability, Song Hyun questioned its authenticity. Marbello conceded he possessed the skill, but lacked the necessary mana and didn't possess a potion to replenish it. However, this posed no issue for Song Hyun. He channeled the mana he had absorbed into Marbello, and due to his ability's enhanced efficacy, it more than sufficed to restore Marbello's reserves. Marbello was taken aback, knowing not even his master possessed such mana replenishing skills. His master had always claimed that only a deity held that power. To Marbello, Song Hyun now seemed godlike. Marbello's delusions magnified, leading him to believe Song Hyun might be a reincarnation of a known deity. Regardless of which deity he presumed Song Hyun to be, Marbello became certain of Song Hyun's divine nature and immediately apologized for his prior disrespect. Song Hyun, finding Marbello's fantastical beliefs amusing, decided not to correct him. After Marbello's fervent display of reverence, Song Hyun simply allowed him to continue with his beliefs.